How's it going, man? How you doing?
Good. How are you doing, Tony?
Yeah, pretty good. Long time no talk.
Yeah, thanks for having me on again, man. This is really fun.
Yeah, I know
So,
our times are kind of difficult. Yeah, you have a full-time gig, it's like that, then got to play daddy in the evenings. So, because you're like
that's
what? You're
right.
you're an hour ahead of me, right? You're an
Yeah.
hour ahead.
Hour ahead. Yeah. I've got three kids, so like
Oh, three kids.
I got almost two teenagers. Well, I've got one teenager and one almost and then a younger one. So
Mm.
kind of we're changing from more of the little kid stuff into more like the fun bigger kid stuff. So
Well,
it's
not
fun time.
not to get off topic or anything at all, but how are you dealing with all the school stuff out there with your kids? Because they're all in school.
Yeah, we love it, man. It's been great. They're going back and they just have to wear a mask all day, and they'd rather be at school with a mask on than not be at school. So the online learning was really hard. I know for at least one of my kids, and the other two did all right. But yeah, they're just here in Utah, we've had people move from California and other states into Utah in order to let their kids go to school or play sports. So like our football teams here have seen a boost of like California kids coming in to play high school football. It's pretty cool. So
Yeah, because I mean, obviously, I'm fortunate. I have my oldest is got her her kid of her own, so yeah, so she's not in school and she works from home now. And then my youngest is only 20 months, so
yeah,
uh,
no
so
worries there.
I have a
Schooling.
little while for this country to figure their shit out. But
That's right.
um, yeah, I wanted to get together with you and talk about. We talked before in the past, where I wanted to just like periodically check in with you and talk about the market and see how things are going with the hobby itself, like that. I think a key thing to really start off on is talking about the current price rise right now. Are you seeing that a lot? Have you changed prices because the market has changed so much?
You know, I haven't changed my pricing in probably like 4 months or so, 5 months or so. And the main reason why is because those high end cards, like the Brothers Till the End, right? It's not like you get a lot of those in, and so they are rare. And so, last time I had one in stock, two in stock. I can't remember. They weren't Survivor Series 3. Those are obviously the ones everybody wants.
Sure.
But I think it's version 1. The thing is, like, I priced them higher than what you had them at, and Steve had them at, and they still sold and wanted cards. So those are still moving, and so the price doesn't really matter almost on these high end cards.
Well, I'm
But
seeing
they
stuff
don't
like
stock, and for
yeah,
us to get them back in stock, we have to be lucky to be able to find it.
it's hard, I know. And so you see the Facebook groups out there
Was that?
you see the Facebook groups
Yeah.
out there trying to, move inventory between each other. And they're almost doing like, hey, send me a PMs like that and make me an offer kind of thing, which we talked about that before. Still irks me to no end, make me an offer. But you're
Right.
seeing cards like, I mean, shit, there was a foot stomp throwback that sold for 250 through that. Now I saw on eBay Armageddon's Upon Us both sold
Right.
for like 145 or something like that. It's a crazy market right
Yeah.
now. It's like, do you think, as myself and you and Steve, does that mean we need to raise our prices on a permanent basis now to that level?
I think on like high end cards like that are the most desirable and there's very few of them available, I think that makes sense. But for the majority of cards, I mean, you don't really need to. Like a Revolution of the Mind, what does that sell for? Like $10 or so?
Anywhere between
Would it
$7 and
be
$10. Yeah.
okay? Yeah. Okay. So say it's $7. Would it be like unheard of if that went to like 12 or 15?
Nope.
Like
No.
I think people would still pay it. If you had three of them, I think you could still get that. So I think on things like that, or Get the F Out, or like what is it, Rev KO'd? It's the one with Shelton on it. I know I've sold a lot
Oh,
of those recently. I think
sloppies.
those are like 18 each, right?
What,
So
sloppy?
like, is it sloppy? Yeah,
Yeah.
it might be. I
You,
can't remember
well, you have
offhand, but
sloppy, very
like
the
things like that
staples.
where I'm like,
You have the staples are like sloppy,
right,
very sloppy. Once
yeah,
is enough. Manager interferes. Get the F out. Revolution of the Mind. Those are like your five
right,
big ones right there, I think, as far as the reversal base goes.
right. And I'd say out of the cards that we sell, probably reversals are my seller overall as far
Yeah.
as quantity goes.
Yep.
where I probably sell more reversals as a card type than any other card type. So
Especially when you have the
um,
key stuff in stock.
yes, and it doesn't stay in stock long. So that's the thing, is like, you see some people say like, oh well, this place has it for higher, they're a ripoff. But like, if no one else has it in stock, then you're not a ripoff. You're the supply and demand equalizer right there,
Correct.
right? Because
Yeah.
you've got it in, it's gonna move. Like, there's gonna be someone that's gonna be like, I really don't want to switch those out of my decks. I'm gonna just buy those extra three.
Yep.
So I think there's a big difference there.
I think with the COVID
And
stuff
to some
hitting,
people, it might be a ripoff. And
I think
what's
with
that?
I think with the COVID stuff hitting, people are taking their their stimulus checks and buying stupid things. I think sometimes,
Oh yeah.
but people are just spending a lot more money. I've noticed, especially on the groups, and then go back into monitoring eBay stuff now. And I'm seeing like just the other day, I think yesterday, or the day before, one of my friends and longtime customer, he just sold a Jericho springboard dropkick throwback for $125.
Yeah.
I mean,
Didn't the person like post and say they pay that?
yeah.
Like I don't think the seller like posted and said, I want this. It was someone saying, I'm buying this and I'll pay this, right?
Yeah, I think that might have been the same
So
person. I think. Yeah, I think you're right.
yeah.
But I've noticed just,
Yeah.
some of those harder to find cards. Yes, I get. It's like that foot stomp throwback. I just got one in hand. I got a foot stomp throwback, but now before I put it in inventory, I really have to kind of go and check my pricing to see if it's, do I need to raise my prices? I get prepared for the
Well,
backlash and people saying, hey, you're an asshole because you raised your prices. You know how hard it is. Well, then it's hard. So what do you expect?
but I mean, so like you have to base your sell price to some degree on what you paid for it, right?
Correct.
So if you're selling it normally at 10 and it costs you 8 to get, you're going to be like, I have no margin here. I've got to raise up my sell price on it. So you're going to raise it. If no one else has it in stock, you're still the only seller, really.
Correct.
So why wouldn't people then start paying that price? And then the other seller is going to be like, oh, well, I guess that's the new market price, that they're actually moving it at that. And so we all kind of bump up to it.
So how would you handle a situation where, say, because I can tie the pricing in with new inventory talk, which is, you see a foot stomp throwback. Let's use that as an example. It's now it's all of a sudden selling for $200, whatever the hell it is, like that. Nobody has it in
Right.
stock. It sells for $200 or $250. I said $250. You get one in a lot that you paid $50 for a lot. Just throwing a random number out there. You pay $50 for a lot of cards, and it came in that lot. Um,
Sure.
do you change your pricing still because the market doesn't have it? Absolutely. I think you do.
So we know that at least someone will pay 250 for it, right? So what happens if you put it at 275, 280? People might complain about it, but are you still going to sell it? I mean, you probably will. So is it wrong to do that? I mean, you can't get it anywhere else. No one's really offering them up.
Yeah.
So, um, one of those guys was saying like they wanted, what was it, Brothers to the End Survivor Series 3 edition, and I kind of joked and said, I'll sell it to you for $300. And kind of was like, oh, you're kidding, what a joke, right? Well, I had someone message me and say, were you serious? I actually want to buy it. I'll pay that for it. Right? So does that mean that Brothers to the End Survivor Series 3 is actually a $300 card because you have at least one person willing to pay it? I mean,
I don't think so. I think it's an off. I mean, that's just
it's an offshoot sort of thing, right? So
it's what I
I
call a
mean, there's
desperate. I call it
definitely
a
like
desperate buy.
yeah. I mean, there's an equilibrium to all this, right? But I mean, you also might have someone that is flush with cash at that moment. They had a good night at the casino, and they're
Yeah.
like, "Sweet, I
Yeah.
want that card. You want 300? Sure, right?" And they don't mind
Yeah.
cashing out for it. So
I had to stick away from doing. I made the mistake with this lot that I bought recently. I made a video showing all the stuff. I got a lot of
yeah,
heat. I got a lot of heat for that. One because, and they were right. I was justifiably given the heat for it too. I didn't think it through. It was, just I wasn't taking any offers, but I was just showcasing what's going to be put in inventory.
yeah,
And I shouldn't have done that, I guess. But people were like making me ridiculous offers off my website, saying I'll pay you
yeah,
this, which was a lot more than what I was selling it for.
right,
And I'm like, I can't do that. It's not fair to the wish list owners. It really isn't. And I got
right,
a guy's like, well, listen, you have a couple cards I've been looking for the last 6, 7 months, and
yeah,
it's not really fair. that you're going to go and offshoot to someone else who's going to bid, higher than me. Now you're an auction. Why don't you just put it on eBay then? And
Right.
I go, you know what? You're right. I'm not selling it to anybody offline. And I just shipped it the other day, as a matter of fact, to my partner. So it should be up in inventory the next week. Um, but it's weird that people are willing to pay a lot more than what you're listing your stuff for on your website. And do you ever have a tendency to sell anything off your website? I mean, take it off and then sell it privately?
Very rarely. Usually because I don't post ahead of time what's coming. But I'll have people contact me and say, if you get this in, I'll pay this amount for it, right? And if they're like a customer that has been around for a while, I know them pretty well, I'll usually do something like that because they've earned, they've built up a relationship with me, and
Correct.
so I don't mind. I love helping out customers like that we get along and everything's good. So I'd love to take care of them in that sort of situation.
I mean, I have
But
some
I
guys that are like
generally
that
don't.
too.
Right. So I mean, you definitely want to hook guys like that up, but yeah, I mean that's a real sticky, I guess, point or kind of sticky area there, right? Like,
Well, I mean, you
could
do
look bad to
you're
the
doing it smart.
community.
I did it stupidly. You're doing it smart. I went and posted a video trying to create more
Yeah.
content, and it ended up biting me in the ass on it's like that. So I do apologize for doing that. And I did apologize to the couple people who messaged me saying, that I think that's really shitty. I'm not quite sure if I want to, place any more orders with you in the future, kind of thing. Like, I'm really sorry. I didn't mean to piss you off, kind of thing. I really didn't. But now it's just because I have the wish list stuff in there, people will get notified immediately when that stuff gets put into stock. So
Right.
when you do buys like this, it's difficult because uh, that's not a wish, a buy list order from your website where once it's been approved, it goes automatically into your inventory. This has to be manually put in. So as you're putting stuff in, like in the past, I've noticed when we put stuff in, like, well, that card sold before I even got a chance to put the second card in. What the hell happened? So
Yeah.
it's strange.
I call it like a feeding frenzy, right? Like
Yeah.
sometimes you put it in and people will be on their smartphone or on their computer and they're like, they put that one card in cart and then go check out because they
Yep.
want to make sure they get it. And
Yep.
so it's almost like they're fighting for it. It's like
It's like throwing.
Black Friday where everybody's rushing to Walmart.
It's like throwing chum in the
So
ocean, man. Just like
yeah. And
um,
it's fun. I mean, I think some of the guys, it's a competition, right? So like in some of the groups I've seen where I'll say like, hey, I'm adding inventory for this set, in an hour, and I'll start adding it, and the guys will be posting on Facebook, oh, I saw that up, I didn't get it though. Who's the jerk that got it? And
yeah.
they're kind of bantering back and forth. It's fun. Like I think they enjoy it to a certain degree where it's like that's almost the competition of it too. So
What do you
it
think
can be
about
a good time for them.
what do you think about the current market right now? So do you think it's going to maintain its level, or will it dip back down again?
It's tough to say. I noticed about October of last year, there's a big jump in out of print card games pricing. It probably went up about 1/3 about last October on just about across the board, like from boxes, packs, singles, everything. So then, so already like January and February were like better months for me than the year before, about twice as much. And then March hits and we're like, 3 times as much. And then we're like 5 times as much per month what we were the previous year, and it basically slowed down about mid-August or so.
Yep.
But those higher end cards are still sought after, right?
Yep.
And those are the ones we probably get in the least amount, but that hasn't stopped raw deal sales. I mean, I'm still having a lot of sales of raw, but I just don't have all the higher end stuff all the time. But as far as like, how do we restock? Like I just bought a collection off of the Facebook group that someone had posted. If you saw the post with the guy that had the Viscera signature, I actually bought that collection.
Nice.
And honestly, I think I overpaid for it. I gave him more than probably it's worth. He sent me a video or two of like kind of what's in it, and I'm like, oh crud, I probably overpaid. But he didn't show me everything, so I'm really fingers crossed we've got some gems in there, right? Like, because I'm like, all right, you've got the Viscera signature, that's at least worth X. What else hopefully is in there that can kind of make up the rest.
Yeah.
So I'll be happy if I can break even on that one.
Yeah, but
You
it,
know,
but
if
but
it's
it,
no, but
but
oh,
hopefully what it ends up doing is when you have a break even type stuff like that, you kind of hope that, well, maybe it'll generate, a couple more sales of people buying, like, I'm going to build another deck. I need 15 more step asides, whatever else they're going to, you kind of generate it. Maybe it'll sell some stuff you already have in stock, but yeah, I hate those. I mean, this one I just did, and I posted a video about, that was a blind buy. Like I bought it literally just not really knowing
yeah,
what was in it. And so for me to hit some of the stuff I had in there, and then uh, like I said, when we were off the air, it's like that. I have a second lot from the same lady. She found more stuff, and I'm gonna go pick that up this weekend. But and I don't know what's in it. Who knows?
that's great.
It's a mystery. It's a mystery. All I know is it's got.
And you hope this one's as good or better than the first one, right?
Can you get much better than the first one? Really? I mean, when you have a foot stomp throwback in it, I mean, what's going to be in this one? I mean,
No, you can't.
I was surprised. Like my mind is thinking like, well, there was no fifth anniversary. Whoever had this collection before was clearly did SS3 stuff. They had a lot of prize stuff in it. So, but I didn't find a single divine, no fifth anniversary. So I'm like,
Right.
now maybe it's in this second wave of stuff that they just recently found. Who knows? And at least the first that I
Yeah.
got was all in a tub, and then a really beaten up 3,200 count box. You know, this stuff at the beginning is going to have
Yeah. Yeah.
it's the first lunch pail. I don't know if there's anything in it. She didn't say there was anything
Oh,
in it. And then a stack
right.
of 9 pocket sheet,
Oh,
9 pocket sheets. And so I don't know what's in it. By the one picture she sent me, I guess it's everything's face down. But
oh.
I see through it. I go, okay, that's a downward spiral. Okay, that's a good sign.
You're like magnifying, like
I am.
what's here?
I am. So,
Oh, that's funny.
but it's just but because the influx of prices and merchandise, it's just I had to go back through, and I'm in the middle of another price check on the site again, which I usually am pretty good at leaving my prices, and I kept my prices for the same for sometimes 3 years, 4 years in a row. Like I never changed a damn thing. I was like, well, that's why you're
Right.
out of stock all the time, because I said I'm just going by market pricing, okay? And then I did a price change. I think after the last time you and I talked,
Uh-huh.
I did a price change, and then I'm about ready to do another one.
Yeah.
I got to.
Yeah. No, I hear you.
And I took away any other like I have no sales running right now, none of that stuff going on, and it doesn't seem to affect it at all,
Right.
which is
No, I
good.
mean
Which
that's
is good because
nice.
it shows you the strength of the game. And I'm noticing a lot of stuff like, because today I sent you that message that guy made a new group for his
Yeah.
Vancouver. It's like that, right? You
Yeah.
see what I did for you though?
Yeah.
Did you see what I did for you?
Well, I noticed he actually already changed the logo.
Yeah, I made it for him.
What's that?
I made it for him.
Oh, you did? Okay.
I, I saw it and I said, okay, you're in Vancouver. So I went and got the Vancouver flag, made it as a backdrop, get the Raw Deal logo, get a 5 card spread up there. I said,
Okay.
I just don't think it's right using category one, image like that. You might want to just not do that. So here, I'll make you something real quick. So,
Oh, that's funny. Yeah,
but you see
you
groups
were
like
the
that.
second person that hit me up with that. That kind of cracked me up.
Oh yeah.
What's that?
You see groups like
What
that,
did you
and
say, Tony?
you see groups like that, and you go, okay, so the market is still kind of growing. You got guys looking to revive their area, and so that only benefits retailers.
Right, for sure.
And
Yeah, I mean, I continue to see the regulars coming in, and then a few new people in today that bought Raw Deal. There's a new Singapore that I had, and a few others in the States, and I was like, oh, nice. Like, so I always love seeing the new ones. Do you think that the new virtual set has sparked any interest, and that's maybe part of what's happening?
in the past, I would always say that the virtual stuff does spark stuff, but with the direction that the new virtual is going, it's really leaning towards changing the meta a little bit, in the sense that it's weeding out, it's giving players an option to you can almost make a full deck of just virtual stuff now.
Right.
You really can, especially with new characters and new superstars. You're not dependent on having a Revolution of the Mind in your decks anymore. You're not dependent about having Manager of Fears in your decks anymore. It's not to say those cards are still not desirable, because clearly they are. We talked about that. But the direction is this is phase one of a new direction that virtual's taking the game in, which is
Right.
exciting for players are really excited about it like that. But returning players who haven't played in a long time may want to come back and start getting their old class. There's still guys only want to play as classic.
Right. Right. Yeah.
But
It's fun. It's fun when you see guys pick up, a full run of superstars. Like I had a guy today buy a full set of Shane, Raven, and one other one I can't remember offhand. And it just cracked me up because I'm like, sweet, this guy's like, he's trying something new. He's probably tired of his decks he's already got. He's trying new people out, and that's always fun to me. I like that aspect of it.
I do too. It's like
The
for a
other
while,
thing
it's
is like I love seeing
seeing like also I'm like A-Train is selling. What the hell's going on in the world? A-Train selling.
yeah, I just had an A-Trade soul set sell the other day too. Yeah. Well, and I like that, and I like seeing you can tell the players that are really strategic about what they buy, and at times I'm like, oh, I wonder what deck they're building, or like, oh, what strategies. So I'll sit and read the card and be like, oh, this would be great in Kane. Why have I never tried this? Right. So I'll start. I've got a stack of like, let's see, like a Houston, Texas. Like I was like, oh, this would actually be really good in a Kane Heat deck, right?
Yeah.
And then I was like, let's see here, Raleigh, North Carolina. I'm like, this is great in Jericho, where you're already trying to reduce the amount of pre-match that they have, and this just helps with that, right?
Yeah.
Anyways, so like it's fun when I like when we're pulling stuff for orders, and I'm like, oh, this works in this deck, and anyways, I like that aspect of it, right?
Yeah,
So,
you're always because when I see orders like that, and Mike, my partner, I would go like, yeah, this guy's build totally. He's got a heat deck like that, so it's probably gonna be Snitsky or probably gonna be something.
yeah.
This guy's building a chain deck. Obviously, it's just especially around when Gen Con was always happening. I had more people playing Gen Con. My
Oh
orders
yeah.
would pick up because I'd have guys
Yep.
who were going to Gen Con, and it was like, hey, Tony, I'm looking for this. Da, da, da. Don't tell anybody, but I'm building this deck. And then you
Yep.
see their strategy like going, oh, he's going to build a Shawn Michaels deck that way, huh? That's going to be kind of brutal.
Yeah. And I always love that when they're like, don't tell my strategy, because it's
Yeah.
like we're gonna go online and be like, here's all the cards we sold in the past month.
Yeah.
Guess what everybody's playing.
Yeah. John Smith bought this. He's building that. And John Smith over here. Like we're going to do that. Like I got time for that.
Yeah. Hold on. I gotta stop filling this order to tell
Yeah.
everybody what we got going on here.
Yeah. I mean, I have another topic that I definitely want to get into, but for another time, because I have a whole episode just based on a different topic. But I want to briefly, just quickly get your thoughts on proxies.
Okay.
How do you feel about them? Do you feel it hurts your sales or doesn't hurt your sales?
I mean, I have a whole stack of cards that I wrote on, that I didn't want to switch out all these cards in decks, so you'd write on the other name, right? And I'm an owner of a store that sells these cards. So I've done that in the past, but would I rather have the real card? Yeah, I would. So do I have 20 of, say, a Revolution of the Mind? At one point I did, to fit all my decks. And then I'm at a point now where I don't play that often. So I'm like, all right, I'll just keep the 3 for my main deck. And then I'm just going to write it on the rest. And I put the rest in the store and they sold. So for me as a player, I'm just not that particular about it. But I know some people, like most players, want to have the real version when they're playing. If I was still playing a lot and had like all these decks and I'm showing them events and wanting to be able to play multiple decks at the same event, I definitely want to have the real ones.
Because guys are talking about like,
I'm not against it.
You made that point about playing regularly with other people, and the guy's like, well, listen, there's no sanction events anymore. There's no this. There's like not a whole lot of area gameplay like that. So who gives a shit? I'm going to go ahead, and there's guys who are very talented guys out of Chile, even Singapore, even domestically. There's guys who make some really nice looking proxies. My fear is, and I've told my partner about, like, when we're doing buys, we got to be careful now, because some of these guys now are trying really hard to pass off an Armageddon upon us that they printed themselves, that they made a proxy of.
Right.
And so you got to be really, really careful of that kind of stuff.
So the Star Trek card game, their players committee has made it totally all of the previous sets available to print online and use proxies for. So you can just print out all the cards you want and use, right? It still sells really well for me, even though anyone playing can just print out a card and play it, right? Because most people don't want to deal with uh, cut and paper time, right? Is like, like it's
Sure.
almost like going back to kindergarten to a certain degree, cut and paste or whatever. But yeah, the proxies are getting better. They look good. I know. So I don't know if you saw Team Covenant. It has a YouTube channel where they play old games on it, and they've done Raw Deal on it.
I
And
saw
when they
the
played
two
Raw
guys,
Deal,
right? The two guys.
yeah, two
Yeah.
guys.
Yep.
So when they played Raw Deal, they were showing images of the cards that were being played, and almost all the images were proxy images. Like the Hulk Hogan was not Hulk Hogan that we know from the game, but it had the same abilities written on it and everything. So I don't think that's I just don't really care that much. Like I think it's cool when that Chilean group, I think it's Chilean group of Raw Deal players have awesome virtual cards, right?
Mask.
That they've
Yeah.
made. And I look at some of those, I'm like, oh dang, I want that, right? So like I don't think there's anything wrong with that if you're like editing the cards to what you want it to look like, or that superstar doesn't look like that, they stopped juicing, whatever. Or they started juicing and they're huge now, like whatever it may be, where I just don't have a problem with it myself. I could see from a retail perspective where you're like, no, never have proxies. But like, I don't know. I feel like I deal in dead card games. I've got a bunch of them, and I feel like most people aren't going to do that. It's the serious players that probably are that are making the proxies because they really enjoy it. We don't get as many sales from the serious players like that. They have most of the cards that they want. The people that are generally buying it are those getting back into it, offering a collection, adding more superstars, and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I have a love-hate relationship with it. So I get the premise of doing it and the whole concept of creating proxies of cards that are financially out of people's reach, and so they can play the game and get new players in the game. But I'm not really seeing, and I maybe I could talk to like Luke Lash. I'd love to talk to him one day. I think he does an incredible job out in his area. Until COVID hit, but building up that player base, and anybody who wants to go out and build a player base, I support them, and if they're looking to try to get a monthly tournament or a bi-monthly tournament, I'm like, hey, listen, I'll give you prize support, man. I got this virtual stuff. You want some? I got one here. I offered the guy, so I said it's kind of bent. My son bent it up a little bit, but you're free to.
right.
You want to have an event? I'll be happy to supply it. But so I get the need to have proxies like that. I don't know. I'm not really seeing a huge, uh, uh, it's not really hurting sales too much. I guess not, but
No, I mean, we're talking about how prices are rising, right? And you would
yeah.
think if like proxies were overly abundant, they wouldn't be. The thing I think, like in the verse system community, they're making these alternate art cards and they're foiling them. That's a big thing in the community. Or they're taking different pictures or characters and putting on like the same text. And that hasn't hurt my sales at all. I think that, and some of the stuff they're coming out with, I'm like, that is awesome. I want some of that too, right? And I think people really enjoy doing that. And I think it's good for the game, and not everybody's going to get that. They're still going to want original card, I just don't think it's a big deal generally.
Cool.
So
I just figured I get
I mean, like I said, like we're
touch up on
talking
it.
about, yeah. I mean, we're talking about how prices are rising. I don't think it's making enough, much or any of an impact.
Good point.
So
Good point. Yeah. So
yeah,
it's just I just wanted to check in with you, see how things were going when it comes from the market side, so like that. It's difficult for me to get a hold of Steve, so like that, because with a 3-hour time difference, and my availability now is evenings. It used to be mornings. Weekends I'm still kind of openly available,
sure.
but now my wife's schedule changed. I'm available in the evenings now, so getting a hold of him, right now it's what it's gonna be 8. I'm gonna be 11 o'clock over there right now for him.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I don't know if he's a night owl like that, but I'd be happy to talk to him if he's available. But I just wanted to reach out and see how things were going in the market and seeing if pricing is going just crazy, man. And it's not just in Raw Deal. So before I let you go, it's not even just in Raw Deal. Even in the trading card community, I think collectibles as a whole, because in the trading card community, I also run a podcast for WrestlingTradingCards.com. So for WTC, we've been talking about it. It's like it's ridiculous the pricing that 99-cent cards are going for $5-10 now.
right.
You've got a Hulk
Yeah,
Hogan 82 Wrestling All-Star, granted it was autographed too, 9.5 grading went for $20,000. I, I mean,
Yeah. Well,
amazing.
I, I I haven't seen our community get into grading cards quite as much, but we're seeing a lot more of that in other, older card games where you're seeing guys pulling out, their PSA or Beckett graded cards, and they've got like full sets of them graded, and I'm just not seeing that with Raw Deal quite as much, that movement quite yet. And I'm curious if we'll get there, or if because the sealed product ran out earlier, there's just not enough, high grade cards to really go get graded, or what. That'll
Yeah.
be interesting to see if this industry or this game moves into that area as well.
I don't know if it'll move into, I mean, eventually maybe it will move in the grading area, but I think that the value of collectibles as a whole has trickled into the raw deal worlds like that, because
Sure.
things are, if you don't, I don't collect baseball cards, I don't collect basketball cards, I don't collect wrestling cards, but I do collect raw deal cards, and I'm willing to pay more to get those cards now that I didn't have before.
Right. Well, I
So
mean, we're in a time when like money is easier to borrow and cheaper to borrow than any other time in history, right?
yep.
Basically for the US. We had a stimulus, we had tax season, people are home and not going anywhere. People that didn't lose their jobs are generally still doing well. Um, and so I think we're like in a really interesting time period where like money is almost like free to a lot of people available
Which is a
when
good
it
thing for,
hasn't been as much in the past.
it's a good thing for some people like you and I, retailers like that, but it's bad for those who don't, plan accordingly. So, yeah, but
Right.
yeah, I mean, we're blessed over here too. We both work from home, so nothing really. My booking business took a hit like that, but then the VelaCards business picked
Sure.
up like that. But I've got things for 2021 lined up from the booking side. But my wife does very well. She works very hard at what she does, and so we've been very kind of fortunate that we can still do our thing, and we were always at home anyways, so it's not like we're
Right.
but it's just interesting to see the market in this time period, like you said, since April, just kind of whoosh, and it's
So
kind of, it's tapered off like right around here. It's like it's at a plateau, doesn't seem to be rising, but certain cards are still kind of like you said, I'll give you 300, I'll give you this,
yep,
I'll give you that.
still peaking.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's like I
Well,
wonder where
I'll,
that
I'll
peak's
give you
going
an
to be.
example. One of my neighbors is a doctor, and soon as like kind of everything shut down with COVID, I saw him in our park, and he was like, "Hey, you know, I'm bored, and I'm gonna just start ordering all these '90s baseball card boxes I had as a kid, and just opening packs for fun."
Yep.
And he told me that soon as this hit, and I'm like, our industry is just gonna explode here in a second, because everybody's gonna be in that same mindset. I didn't tell him anything about cards. He just said it to me offhand, and I'm like, wow. And that's why you're seeing a huge boom in the YouTube, or not YouTube, but in the sports card market, but also, people opening cards and filming it for YouTube. Some of the most popular videos and channels right now are sports card box openings
Yep.
on YouTube, which is just amazing.
It is.
um
I
so we're seeing it everywhere. But another thing, not only just collectibles, my neighbor that lives on the other side of me here, he owns a hot tub company, and he said on average he sold about 10 to 12 hot tubs in a week, as he said what was average. He said when COVID hit and the stimulus checks came out, he was doing 12 hot tubs a day,
oh
and he was
Jesus.
doing that for like 2 or 3 months on end, right? So
Yeah.
like he was doing what he did in a week in a day, and he was, every day. And he's like, he was telling me, he's like, we are 3 months out. Like, and so he's like, I've been totally out of stock. We're 3 months in waiting right now to get hot tubs for these people in today. And so,
It's a good
you
place
know,
to be.
it's anything that's kind of like toy, big boy toys, like fun things, collectibles. I mean, all of that exploded this. So, it's not just us, but some industries really got hurt, like you're saying, like events, right? Like that hurts you in that aspect. But there's some companies that just exploded with this, and
Yeah.
it's pretty fascinating to kind of see that
When you have,
shift and movement with it.
I'm a big follower of Gary V, and
Yeah, me too.
he's been really talking about a lot about trading cards lately, and then at one point even
Yeah.
talked and dropped some wrestling card names to invest in.
Oh, okay.
So of course, he holds a lot of weight, and so hey, Gary V said that I should be collecting that. I should go in and start investing that too. And the market just has been reacting, and then it's like
Right.
it's just a chain reaction, and raw deal isn't anywhere near what the collectible, trading card world is like that, but you are seeing a bit of it in this market.
Well, there's a YouTuber, Alpha Investments. They're a big Magic channel. The guy's name is Rudy that runs it, and he talks all the time about how Magic is basically an investment, and he was a big stock trader, bond trader, something like that before, and then like kind of retired, made a lot of money during the recession. Actually, made a lot of money, and then kind of retired from it and started other businesses and got it like heavy in buying old Magic and all of that. Anyway, so he talks a lot about how a lot of that shift in people's money for these younger generations is going into collectibles versus just leaving your money in the bank
Correct.
and collecting interest, right?
It's
So
the way
really
I've always treated
fascinating. I
trading
think there's
cards.
a big shift.
Well, years ago, when I used to be a heavy buyer and seller of non-sport cards. At one point in time, I used to buy so much Benchwarmer cards when it first came back. I was buying 30 to 40 cases for every release at the time. It was ridiculous because it was just,
Yeah,
it sold. I mean, one, it has a sex appeal, which was
yeah,
great. I mean, but two, it sold. It's just, I've always treated the collectible world like a stock market, when to buy and
right,
when to sell. If you have a love for something that you want to collect, you got to be very careful. Never get high on your own supply, and
right,
you just got to move it. And right now is a very profitable time for some people if you can invest in buying cards. Is it a?
right,
Some people are saying like ESPN just did an article about PSA and the whole card market.
right,
So is it a? People are comparing it to the housing bubble or the .com bubble. It's going to burst. Probably
right.
will. Most likely, probably will.
Sure.
But how far is it going to go before it bursts? And if it bursts, is it going to be a slow leak burst or a complete explosion? I mean, we don't know.
Right.
And
Sure.
I think it's exciting for me personally. Very
No,
exciting.
I totally agree. I mean, I've added more new games in the past little bit, and I've got so many more that I'm adding. I'm like you're talking about readjusting price into for Raw, but I am for like other games. There's been more people like creating websites and selling older card games because I think they're seeing profit in it. But I've seen that before in the past where someone gets in, they want to undercut everybody, they sell at half the price, and then once they sell their initial stock, they've got nothing else to, they
They're
can't
done.
buy it because their buy list is so low.
Yep.
And I'm like, all right, you just put yourself out of business. So their website will limp along for a few years. But like my site, so it's 2020. I started in 2006, my site. So I mean, that's what, 16 years, and I've been selling on eBay since 98. So I mean, that's 22 years. I mean, I've been doing this a long time, man. Like, I started in sports cards buying and selling when I was 8 years old, and I'm gonna turn 40 next year. So like, I've got a lot of skin in this game.
Yeah.
So I mean, but you do too. I mean, you've been doing this a long time. So I think, you know, it's funny because we see people, they're like, oh, well, they're ripping people off. You're mentioning, you're like, you're ripping people off if you raise the prices up. But we're not fly by night sellers, right? We're not
Yeah.
backpack dealers. We're not going to just list it on, people are always like, well, the eBay sold price is this. And I'm like, yeah, but if you just want to get rid of it, you'll take whatever on eBay, right? You don't
Correct.
care. Like, we have a price, we paid for it. We have time invested, like go it, listing it, taking time to print it, ship it, make it nice, all that. And, that all factors into it. So we're not fly by night seller, be around a long time, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the big difference, and it's funny to me when people are always like, well, this is the eBay price. Well, eBay schmeebay, like, like that's not always what the market price really is. I had one card. Okay, I had the card listed for $4 on eBay. I put it for auction, so I still had one in my store for $4. I had it on auction. It started at 99 cents. It got up to $25 with two people in a bidding war for this card. Any one of them could have just gone and bought it for $4. And it's like, so is that going to be our new gauge for that price of that card is $25, even though I can't sell the $4 one? Like,
it's a weird market,
come
man.
on.
It's a weird market, but because there's so many different avenues to go out and find something. So what you can find here, you can't find that kind of thing. But that's incredible. Yeah, I'm so glad I don't do eBay anymore. I haven't done it for years, and I'm so glad I don't do it anymore. It's too much for me, and the fees kill me, and I just can't do it. Can't do it. So yeah, it's interesting times, man. Interesting times. I'm curious to see where it goes, and I think in a few months' time, I'd like to talk to you again about it, and see where we're at again.
Yeah, man, love to. Thanks for having me on and everything.
Coming, I mean, I'm not going to get personal stuff like that, but I'm going to be taking about a 2-month break come mid-November.
Okay.
I'm not going to have any more YouTube stuff going on for about 2 months. So
Okay.
I'm not going to be gone. I'm just can't do them for a couple months.
Sure. No, I understand.
Got stuff going on. But yeah, I'm trying to get as many of these in the can as possible like that. So I don't know when this is going to actually air, but when it does, I hope people enjoy it.
Yeah, man.
But
Yeah,
I appreciate your time.
Appreciate it.
I appreciate your time as always, Scott. It's always a pleasure talking to you.
Yeah, you too. Have a good night.
You too, man.
Okay, take care.